Hey, this is Glendon, and we are going back to the old format, kind of, sort of. So, with that, we're going to start with Mental Mondays. That'll be the new thing. I'm going to kick it in. And this is a presentation, but I've designed it that if you don't want to look at the slides, you don't have to. You can just listen, hit the podcast icon, or just, sign in on your phone or whatever and list or do whatever you need to do. So you can do two things at once, and you can listen to this as often as you would desire. So you don't have to. All right. All right, we're going to start over again. That wasn't supposed to happen. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Hey, this is Glendon. We're going back to the original format, which is Mental Mondays. It's kind of like the original format, but there'll be a few changes. But let me tell you about the new thing or the old thing. This is a presentation versus just a regular video, and it's designed that if you want to, you can put it on your cell phone, iPad, do something else, listen to it in the background, and I encourage you to listen to it as many times as you so desire. So it's more in tune to make it easier for you to get the information. And with that, we start off with Mental Mondays, removing crutches from your life. I was really thinking about this because recently, because I was going to do something else, but recently I put up a video about a very horrid dating experience I had. And I've spent the last 3 days going over email, and I'll pretty much do it the whole week. And I was just like, oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. And people love those dating disaster stories. Well, I have another one, but it's different. It's not so much a disaster. And to this day, one of my friends questions my sanity. But before we get to that, what is a crutch? Now, we talk about crutches as maybe something bad or someone enabling you. I think a crutch is anything that keeps you from moving toward what you want. So a crutch could be your job. It could be your family. It could be any of that stuff. Because the thing is, one of the things that and as we go along, you'll see that I've discovered about success is often we predicate what will happen based on our ego more so than our desires. We will set up a chain of events or a situation to come out like we want it to in our mind to prove we're right versus doing something that's scary and different and taking it to another level. I know it sounds strange. I know it sounds odd. I've witnessed people do this frequently. To be successful, it is a matter of resources, not money, not education, or position. Because one of the things you'll think about is, I would do X, Y, and Z if I only had M, Q, R, or maybe even V. Those are excuses. Those are really deep down patented excuses to not being successful. Because going back to Earl Nightingale's Lead to Feel, no one really sits you down and says, hey, you have a choice in everything that you do in all aspects of your life. Think about it. Take something as simple as religion. Most people, your religion was chose for you. Your parents were Catholics. You're a Catholic. You really never thought about it. You grew up a Catholic. You like being Catholic. You've gone to Mass. And you've not thought about it one day in your life. There are some people that break apart from the family religion, and they're usually looked upon as outcast. But often it's not your choice. To get rid of a crutch, you have to make a firm choice. You have to really say, this is what I want. It's time to do something different. It's time to take it to a different direction. It's time to really self-evaluate, take inventory, and look at some things that are holding you back. Because you would say maybe coffee is a crutch, or your cigarettes are a crutch, or it's, for some people they may be, but those to me are not as detrimental as the mental crutches. The crutch that you put on yourself that says, hey, I am a mother, I have 2 kids, and I can only make X amount of money. I'll give you a story about the power of choice. There was this woman, we called her the mother, and she was Grandma Moses. She was an artist. I may have screwed up her name, but she was a famous artist. This woman did what women in her time period did. They got married, they had kids, they raised those kids, but she always wanted to be an artist. She always wanted to be an artist, but she never made the decision to be an artist, because there were women back then, there were artists. Now, making that decision back then was going to get you a lot of flack. It was going to ruffle some feathers. It was going to create a lot of problems. But nevertheless, to make that decision was still there on the table. So when her kids were grown, she started painting. And she had a beautiful eye. She had this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful collection, this wonderful body of work. And it is estimated that if she had started painting when she really wanted to as a young girl, she may have been one of the wealthiest women in the country, or even the world for that matter. So let's really look at this. She had what it took to be an artist. It just took making a decision for it to be realized. That was it. A decision. I mean, sure, she had to go out and get the canvas, and she had to paint, and she had to do the work. But the big thing was making that decision. As I was saying before, all crutches are not vices. Not even close to vices. Your biggest crutch may have tucked you in bed when you were little. I know, dear old mom and dad, right? In some ways, they can be the biggest crutches in your life because they love you. They want nothing bad to befall you. And in that love, they may not let you stumble and fall in life that you need to do. Those are things you need to do. You need to stumble and fall. You need to have problems because that makes you grow as a person. And one of the things that I realized coming from the antiquated world of Alabama, a little small town by the name of Adamsville, that people dealt with problems. I didn't grow up in a neighborhood where grown people would yell at each other in the street. Matter of fact, I can't recall grown people yelling at each other, period. It was a different world. But when you're allowed to fall, when you're allowed to fail, but you still get support, you grow as a person. There are many people, such as parents, friends, they coddle you. They won't let you grow because then they would have to assign a different label to you, but they like the label that they affix to you. They like it a lot. And they'll say things like, you don't need to change. You're fine just the way that you are. You're good to go. The reality is, myself included, we all can use a personal improvement program. Every last one of us. So you could be good the way you are, but are you great? You could be okay, but are you awesome? And usually, if you wake up in the morning dreading putting on your clothes and going to wherever you have to go, be it school, work, or wherever, and there's no energy, there's no enthusiasm for it, more than likely, some changes need to be made. either on the personality side or everything. But don't think of crutches as just like vices such as alcohol or drugs. Those are serious, serious personal problems, which can decapacitate a person. So when we think of crutches, and part of this exercise is for you to write down everything that you think that's holding you back. You think, hey, this is holding me back. This is really, really not allowing me to move forward. Everything that you think is holding you back, write it down. Just write it down. And once you get it written down, and this exercise is going to take a minute, you also come up with as many solutions as you possibly can. This is called mind mapping. Say you write down 6 things that you feel are holding you back, right? Well, what you're going to do is come up with, at a minimum, 10 solutions, preferably 25 solutions. You will, the first few will be easy, but as you start getting into the teens, it starts to become a struggle because you have to really start doing something that you really don't do every day, which is think. When I first started thinking, it was some of the most painful days of my life because we're creatures of habit. If you're not used to thinking and you're more in a reactionary mode, this is some hard stuff. It's terrifying because you're actually digging down into your conscious mind and going deeper to your subconscious mind, and all kinds of stuff comes up. It's like stirring up a hornet's nest. Before you know it, the headache goes away and you start to come up with solutions to your problems. Now, this is what you're waiting for. Everyone loves to hear about my personal and decadent dating life. This story is a trip. I'll just start off with, it was an ego thing for me. She was the type of woman that when you walked in the room, everybody knew why you were with her. There was no, ooh, what you? Oh, it was pretty much immediate recognition of I understand, because physically she was flawless, but morally she was indigent. To give you some perspective, I want you to imagine Jordan Sparks. She's a pretty girl. Now imagine Jordan, shorter and extremely toned, not to the point of steroid-induced female bodybuilders, but more like an Olympic athlete, maybe like a gymnast. Think of that, but bigger boobs, way bigger boobs. And that's what you had. Just like I said, to look at her was a dream. To live with her was hell. But I knew probably within a week that she was not the girl for me. But the benefits, they were awesome. Like the slinky going down the escalator. This is awesome. I mean, seriously. I started getting invited to parties because of her. Dudes were like giving me a different level of respect. It was a trip. But I wasn't happy. And this is the other part. I don't know if this is relevant in your life, but before I made a change in my life, I used to be really good at finding evil, mean women that were actually outstanding in bed. She was no different. If there was a Olympic medal for sex, she'd get platinum. But she wasn't a pleasant person. She complained all the time and she was highly narcissistic. Then this went on for some time. I'm not going to go, oh no, I realized that she was this horrible person. No, I dated her for a long time. Then it was a Friday evening, and she called me because I was supposed to go and get her, and we were supposed to do some stuff I didn't really want to do. And I was sitting in my living room in a shirt, jacket, and tie. You've never seen me in a shirt, jacket, and tie. There's a reason. I hate it. I did it when I had to be in sales, but really, it's just not me. I hear that I clean up well, but it's not me. So I'm sitting there, and I'm looking down at my shoes. I've got on these shoes, I've got on these socks, and I just don't want to go. I just really, really didn't want to go. And I was just like, well, it's a nice event. And then I leaned back and I was like, let's be honest. You don't want to go with her. That was the problem. Because it was always going to be extracurricular stuff. So I called her up and I said, we're not going. And she said, are you crazy? I said, no, we're not going. We're not going. We're not going to do anything else. We're not going to sleep together anymore. We're not going to do nothing because I am out. I can't take it no more. My brain hurts at the thought of being in the space with you. And I hung up. And I immediately felt like 120 pounds lighter because I was. I was happy. I was giddy, alone in my living room, all dressed up. And it was like a happy moment. And part of the reason, and I didn't understand it until many years later, the reason I was happy because I made a good choice. I developed the courage to make a good choice because of the pain. Because this is the thing. If you're not changing in your life, you haven't reached that pain point. Because long as the pain of remaining the same is not that great, you'll stay the same. There's no reason. There's no inducement. There's no movement. It's just I got to that point. So I went upstairs and took off the suit and just sat down and watched a lovely evening of television and goofed off because I had to work the next day. And that was another part of it. You know, Saturdays were big days for us. And as weeks went on and, she did call and she was pissed and she said a lot of nasty stuff about me, which, I could have did it better, but I really felt that if I didn't make that move at that moment in the way I did it, I may have been her lackey forever. Just being honest. So I kind of developed the 99% rule. 99% of the people that you meet are just not going to be the one. I mean, from a physical standpoint, yeah, it was easy. From an emotional standpoint, it was hell. So out of the things that you need to have a successful relationship, being attractive to your partner, having, sex, and being emotionally connected, we were missing 33 and a third. Big chunk was missing. Very critical chunk was missing. It may have been 50%. Because after all the crazy sex you can have and after all the evenings of being with someone that you didn't like, and that's the thing, I didn't like her as a person. And it was a puzzling situation. Now, this is where things get really interesting. After this, and my friends are looking at me as if I had lost my freaking mind, another realization came out. When you are a guy and you allow other people to make choices for you, because that's what we guys tend to do. Many of us don't have the courage to date the people that we're truly attracted to and really mesh well with. We date people that make it easier to explain. And women do it too, but guys are really bad. So after moving out of that, and another reason I dealt with it was I worked a lot. She was there. Blah, blah. No. Lie. That's all a lie. The thing is, it was easy. It was easy to capitulate to mediocrity because that was a mediocre relationship. It really was. Then for me to go out and do the hard work of finding someone worthy of my time, attention, and love. So I had to be real with myself. It's like, okay, You really don't want to get out there because, dating can be horrible. Dating can suck. But also dating can be fun. So I did something that I never did before. I decided to write a business plan for meeting women. I know it's crazy. But see, the thing is, she was a crutch. She was a beautiful, sexy crutch. But nevertheless, she was a crutch because I was allowing myself to be propped up on her versus going out and getting what I really wanted. So I sat down and I created this business plan. I was like, okay, what the hell do I want? And that was the question, because I sat at my desk for a good 30 minutes. Because the thing is, you ask a guy and it's like, yeah, sex, and I want a woman to look good and everything. But when you've had that, it's like, really, what do I really want? And I started writing down. It's like, okay, I like to go to the museum. I'm kind of artsy fartsy. I read a lot. And the list was not those kind of chicks like Beautiful Evil, as I nicknamed her, the Beautiful Evil one. You don't really see them doing the stuff that I did. And I was like, okay, that's cool. So, wrote up the business plan, wrote up some habits and stuff. And then I was like, okay, I am going to go out and I'm going to find this chick. And the next 10 women that I find attractive, no matter where they are, I'm going to go out and I'm going to walk up to them, introduce myself, and ask them out. I know, crazy plan. But I realized that if I didn't do something, I was more than likely going to go back, just keeping it real, just being us. I was going to go back to the Beautiful Evil one because she cussed me out. She said stuff, but she continued to call. And, you can get weak. You can get real weak. So I needed to leave her and just stay away from her because she made it easy. There's some more with her that I'll tell you at the end. And I went out with this mission, and it didn't matter because the thing is, I worked a lot. So it wasn't like, I was never one to hang out at bars and all that other stuff. That just wasn't my thing. So typically when I met someone, it was usually in the street, quick trip, restaurant. So this is where it gets really interesting because I was like, 10. Because I was like, a good number. So the first one, I roll up, introduce her. Hey, my name is Glendon Cameron, blah, 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 blah. And I'd like to take you out. And she looked me in the eye and she said, that's really sweet, but honey, I'm a lesbian. And her partner came up and hugged her. They were nice. They were real nice, but it wasn't the blow off deal. They were real lesbians, and I was just like, okay. So I go up to the second one, quick trip pump. Go over there, talk to her, do the thing. I didn't see any wedding rings or anything like that. I didn't see a car seat in the car and everything. And rolled up to her, talked to her, had a nice little conversation and everything, asked her out. I am leaving the country tomorrow. And I was like, okay, you don't want to? She said, no. I am going to the Peace Corps and this is my last day. Otherwise I would go. I was like, lesbian, leaving the country. And I was like, oh, this is nuts, right? So about a day goes by because I'm busy and I see someone else. And I also had my goals written down and I had them in my wallet and I was like, okay, let's roll. And the thing is, you have to get yourself straight. And so I go up to her, and this is where it gets gooder. I see her, but I didn't see the gaggle of hens she was with, which numbered 6. So I'm already made this commitment to myself. And I was like, well, you can chicken out. And I was like, okay. Anytime that you go through the pain and humiliation of working on your goals, it usually works out. So I go up to her, I introduce myself to her, and the hens are kind of circling because they're waiting to be seated. And I was like, look, I got to go back to work, but I just saw you, want to talk to you, need to get to know you. What's your number? Asked her out. And bada bing, bang, bang, bang. She said, sure. And I was like, really? And I said that mentally because I've learned, when things like that happen, you can't just do something stupid because then you can kill the energy. And yeah, she was actually nicer and better looking than the beautiful evil one. So I got her number, gave her mine, hooked it up, and bounced. Don't know what happened. Fortunately, this was a day that I actually looked presentable because women in packs will cut you up if you're looking kind of dressed kind of funky. So it was like a pleasant experience. Now, this is where it really got weird because on my list, there were no physical attributes. They were all soft, soft things like likes the museum, likes to go out to plays because I like plays. And there's some operas I like. And, a lot of women are not down for that. So first date's wonderful. We have a great time. And then I spring it on her. I was like, well, I've got tickets to this opera. And she said, oh, my God, that's my favorite. And I'm just like, don't you bullshit me, right? She said, no. My mother took me there. And her mother was like a hippie missionary. And they had lived in Paris for 5 years. And it was just like crazy. And, we did not turn into a marriage or anything, but we're still really good friends today and one of the best dating experiences I had. And that came because I got rid of my crutch. One of the laws of physics is you cannot have two things in the same space. So you got to get rid of crutches to get something better. Now, how did this relate to my business? I know this is the $1 million question, right? After going through that experience, I started finding crutches in my business. Things that were working well, but really they could be better. So I went through this whole process. That's why I tell you to write down your goals. And I tell you to go out and meet new people because amazing things happen. So I started moving stuff out. And this is where, the metric thing really came into play. And essentially, by getting rid of a woman that most people would think I was an absolute damn fool just based on her physical attractiveness, I ended up getting someone way more appropriate, nicer, friendlier. I don't know if you've ever had anyone that it was just a joy to be up with them all day. She was that kind of person. That our business, some of the new things that happened, getting rid of some stuff. My partner even said, this was actually a good idea, because we used to bump heads on some of my crazy stuff. And we saw an appreciation of about 15% of our business in 90 days. And it's just the thing is, it's very easy to become complacent. It's extremely easy to become complacent. And those crutches, while they may feel nice, because all crutches are not hard with the hard rubber foam under the arm, some are very lovely, some are very fuzzy. They hold you back. They truly, truly hold you back. And it opened up my eyes. So I worked really hard to make sure that I don't have any crutches in my life, because it creates bad energy. It creates something that's crazy. And I was just totally amazed that by making a change like that, how it just went all in every corner of my life. So that's why you got to get rid of crutches. Now, here's the fun part. How do you kick the crutch? First thing is you have to recognize the state. And the state is, it's cozy. Have you ever done something stupid and knew you were doing something stupid and went with it because it was comfortable? You was like, you knew what was going to happen. You was like, yeah, but I'm comfortable. When you recognize the state, and this is when you're very comfortable, it's like, you ever see people that wear sweaters in the summertime? How these folks have trained themselves to wear wool when it's 90 degrees outside and not sweat. They've created a state of comfort in things that would drive other people nuts. I tell you, I know it's true because I did it one time. When I was a kid, I saw someone wear a sweater, and I wanted to do it because I thought it looked cool, and I did it. And I didn't sweat because I had convinced myself that wearing that sweater was going to be cool. It's totally nuts, the things that we do to ourselves. So you have to recognize the state. What is the state? Why do I do this? Why do I persist with this? Why do I put up with this? And once you boil it down to why you're putting up with it, figuring out the why, you have to determine new outcomes. Just like, okay, I am here. I've got this stuff going on. I don't like it. It's really not good for me. It's holding me back. How do I replace that behavior with a new one? And this is where the rewards come in. You have to give yourself a reward that matters. Just like, I give myself an extra $50. If $50 doesn't make you go, yay, it doesn't matter because it doesn't excite you. There's no energy into it. I've often said on YouTube, and I'll say it right here, we don't do the things we do for money. There's other reasons. There's totally different reasons. It's something else that we do it for. It may be recognition. It may be pride. But it's bigger than money. So you get to reward yourself with something that really excites you, whatever it may be for you. Because I can't tell you what it is. Only you know. It could be something as crazy as going to Bali. Or it could be something as simple as you're going to take the kids to grandma's house and you're going to come home and you're going to sit on the sofa all day. You're going to eat bums and read a book and not answer your phone. If you're a parent, that sounds like a great vacation. If you don't have kids, you're like, what? You don't know. But that's really the thing you have to do. Because I didn't realize that many of the things that I learned for business were applicable to my personal life, and what I learned in my personal life was applicable to business. And I started meshing all this stuff together because I can assure you, if you talk to anyone that says, hey, did you ever write down a business plan for how to have a relationship? They will look at you like you're nuts because relationships are just supposed to happen. Or, if you do the right thing, God is going to send you that, right? Everything we do, we plan, is contrived, we work on, but for some reasons, relationships are supposed to just happen. And the reality is, a lot of really good relationships that I've seen and I think are good, there was a plan. One of the partners had a plan, and they both had a plan, but someone had a plan. And that's how it worked out. And I'll tell you something else I do. To this day, I call it the 30-day rule. And it's going to crack you up. Every time I meet someone that I really like, I'll say, okay, let's do this. And I do it fairly quickly. All right, next 30 days, we're a couple. And they look at me like, what? It's like, yeah, we're a couple. It's like, this is what we're going to do. I'm not going to see anyone else. You're not going to see anyone else. And at the end of 30 days, we're going to sit down and talk about it. And we're going to say, hey, do we want to do this for another 30 days? And then we'll talk about it after that. And I've not had one woman look at me crazy. It worked. Because the thing is, just from whoring, it's real hard to evaluate what's a good person and what's not a good person when you're dispersed all over creation. I've done it. I know. And it's fun. I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, no, it's not fun. It's fun. But, it just depends on where you are in life and what you want. But that is a business thing that I brought to my personal relationships that's kept me out of a lot of trouble. It's kept me from getting locked into something. Because this is the thing. If you can't do an exclusive relationship for 30 days, there's many problems there. Number one, more than likely, it ain't the right person. That's number one. Number two, if it is the right person, but 30 days is too long for you, you probably never, ever will be able to commit to anything. So, that's just a little tip there. All right, so let's wrap this up. You've got your assignment. You're going to write up everything that you think is holding you back. And you're going to come up with 10 to 25. Let's make it 15. Let's crank it up. Let's crank it up. We're going to crank it up 15 to 25 solutions to kicking that crutch. And let's see how that improves your life. Because I guarantee you, it made a big difference in my life. It made a huge difference in my life. Because I noticed that on Facebook, I have pretty good friends, but I do have some folks who pine for attention, like drama, or enjoy craziness. And I noticed that if you really sit back and just look at some of your friends' walls, you can find out everything they are, everything they're not, and sometimes it's not a good picture. But that's the beauty of free will. You can live a life of design or intent, or you can just go with the flow and be miserable as hell. It's your choice. Either way you go, it's a choice that you make. All right, that's this session, and I'll see you on the other side.